So we started at 757.
757.
And I dropped it to 747.
That's a whole unit. That's a large effect. The fact that you can change this particular parameter, the acid-alkaline balance in water, implies that you could change it in the body. The body has this amazing intelligence. It knows what it needs. So the fact that you can create an environment with your consciousness and your thoughts and your intention that pH can change at all would allow the body to change the pH in the appropriate direction that it needs. The dogma is you can't change your body chemistry by thinking about it, but the implication is that the intention and the imagery that you use can be used to change your own internal pH. And yes, just let your body do what it knows is the optimal direction and magnitude for change.
Congratulations on this documentary, Superhuman, The Invisible Made Visible. What sparked the idea to make this documentary for you, Caroline?
Sorry, are we starting? Because I just wanted to, I apologize.
Sure,
because I want to put you up there so I can, so the
Okay.
camera is not too far. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm a filmmaker, so.
Just let me know when.
Okay, it's fine.
Okay, ready?
Mhm.
Okay. Caroline, hey, congratulations on Superhuman, The Invisible Made Visible documentary. It's entirely interesting and fascinating. What sparked you to make this documentary in the first place?
Well, I've always wanted to make this documentary because my entire life I've been kind of knowing about intuitive abilities, understanding that this is very real, very possible. And just working with so many people around the world, I noticed that our intuitive abilities are just second nature and we're just not exploring them enough. So I spent 15 years of my life lecturing, writing books, and teaching that sort of material. But, you know, I wanted to use the film format to bring it to, hopefully, mainstream media.
So you've been doing this for 15 years already. What was your first experience?
My very first experience actually started when I was 5 years old. I was just there, and all of a sudden I realized that I could see what people call the subtle energy. It's not the aura, but it's just kind of the energy around people. So I noticed that I could see, for example, what was wrong with, if somebody was struggling with something, I could see the root cause. I would see things that would happen before they did, things like that. It started at a very young age, but I didn't think anything about it because I thought, oh, everybody does that. All children do that. So I just didn't do or say anything about it for the longest time.
Wow, that is pretty fascinating. And you managed to, ever since 5, you've managed to turn this into a career research for yourself.
Yes, because the question was to me, how did this happen? It wasn't just important for me to just share my stories. I wanted to know how this could be possible, that your brain can just tap into information you didn't know about, or find out the root cause of someone's illness or something spontaneously. It's just, you would think it's crazy, right? And so I got into the field of psychology in college, again, to try to figure out how the mind works. But I think that wasn't enough. I had to go further and deeper. And that's why I developed a whole methodology, researching how consciousness works, how our mind works, how it affects our reality. So that's how it worked. It happened.
So for this documentary, Superhuman, it covers a lot of different topics, but I'm sure that there's a lot more other topics and subjects that you couldn't include into this documentary. So how did you manage to choose to put it into this film?
Yes, of course, absolutely. There are so many topics that we can talk about, but in a documentary format, I wanted to choose the ones that are the most relatable, I want to say. So, for example, we started out with an experiment called remote viewing, meaning the ability to see remotely. And that is, I picked that one because a lot of people have this intuitive ability. They sense something's wrong with, a friend or a family member, usually a mother, feels something about the son. They see something that's happening to them even though they're not there. And so that's why I chose that one experiment. Another one that I really wanted to do is the experiment with how your mind actually affects water, because this experiment has been done before. I'm not the first one. But this ability tells us that if we can affect the structure of water or the pH of water, it means we can do it to our bodies. And so that's another very important topic that I wanted to include. And of course, you also saw in the film telekinesis. You saw children with the blindfolds. I mean, we covered actually a pretty good range in the film.
So, with all these different experiments, did you know these researchers, these scientists, these professors beforehand, or you basically knew the topics and then you did the research to gather evidence for it?
No, actually, I have been working with some of the scientists doing experiments myself. And so, because the experiments were so successful, so for example, I worked with Glenn Ryan for a couple of years at least, doing experiments with water and with DNA. And every single time, we would have a very significant result. And just for the listeners, when we do a scientific experiment, we don't just jump in and just do measurements. I mean, we create what we call a baseline. So we take measurements over a long period of time, and then you try to affect the water, and then you take measurements again, the before and after, you repeat that. So it's scientifically done. And so working 3 years doing so many experiments over and over and having these results, we were like, we need to talk about this. We need to share this. And so he was one of the scientists, and other scientists had also been working with similar experiments as well. So that's why they were open to come on board as well.
I found it fascinating, the approach for the documentary, because you actually brought in celebrities into the experiments. Why did you come to that decision, and how did you find them?
Yeah, so first of all, I didn't want to be the only one, or just people who do meditation or who are into this already to be in the film. Because what's the point? Because people will be looking at the film and saying, oh, well, those guys have trained for it and they can do it, but I can't. And that wasn't the point of the film. For me, it's very important to create, at least have the message in the film that everybody can do this. Everybody has this innate ability. And so because of that, I thought, we have to invite random folks. But wait, why don't we invite, recognizable names, some celebrities? So that would make it even more fun. And so, of course, we worked with a casting director. And at the time, these were, the cast members that were available. And they did an amazing job. I mean, they just blew me away. Rachel, never done anything like this before, shows up on set. We teach her in a couple of hours, and she nails it. I mean, it was so much fun.
I don't want to say that I'm a skeptic, but it's when I'm watching the documentary, sometimes I kind of question it, whether if I wanted to believe in it. I mean, how do you want to address like skeptics or people who think that this is just simply a parlor trick?
Yeah, I mean, skeptics are good. It's good to be skeptical. I was skeptical for the longest time. Like I said, I mean, when things would happen to me, the first thing I would say, wait, did I make this up? Am I crazy? How do I know it's true? It takes a lot of responsibility, to me anyway, to put this material out there. So because I worked in the field, like I said, for so long, and I'm so clear on what we are doing, I felt confident enough. Now, as you just said, a lot of people are going to say, wait, there's a trick somewhere. But I feel like there's nothing we can do about that. But at least if they're slightly open to the possibility, it's good enough for me. Especially the blindfold, if you recall that segment. I was so skeptical myself. When you first see that, you see children, you see adults completely blindfolded, and they're reading, they're riding bikes, they're playing ping pong. I mean, the first reaction is, this can't be true. This is a trick. And yet we showed it scientifically that there was no light in the mask, that it was done. And of course, I'd done it myself. In fact, we just did a class with children online. After 2 sessions, they were able to read.
Really?
Crazy. It's online. I mean, like, so we have the videos, the parents are there. This is very real. So, to answer your question again, the skeptics, it is what it is.
Have you tried any of these experiments and it worked for others but it never worked for you?
Actually, I have to say the blindfold technique was strange for me because like I said, since I was younger, I had those abilities. I would see remotely, or I would see these things naturally. But then when I had to put the blindfold on and be able to read, it kind of messed me up. I was like, wait, can I even do this myself? So I had to really work very, very hard to change what I was already doing naturally. So this one was tricky. And another one was the remote viewing as well, because the way the government teaches it, as you know, this was a huge government program. They used to teach the soldiers to spy on the Russians, and vice versa. And so the way they taught it for 20 years is very different than what I was doing as well. So that was a bit of a challenge at first.
So is anyone a superhuman, or this takes a special person to be a superhuman?
That's the point of the film, is to show that anybody can do this. Everyone is a superhuman. Because that's the reason why we invited random folks, people who had never done anything like this before. In fact, some of them were skeptics. So Rachel was a little bit more open, but like Cory wasn't. And Naomi had never done anything like this either. She was also skeptical in the sense, how is that going to work really? So this was proof to us that anybody can do this. All you have to know is that there's a little bit of, training. We're not saying that, hey, you're going to just watch this movie and start bending spoons and moving objects with your mind. So there's a little bit of training, but still, everybody can do this. Anybody can do this, for sure.
Wow, that is amazing. With so much material, and if Superhuman documentary is such a success, is there a possibility of a sequel?
Oh, definitely. I already have a sequel in my head right now. I already know what I'm going to do with the next one, for sure.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Excellent. As I'm starting to wrap things up, do you have other projects that you are working on besides Superhuman?
Well, again, it's a kind of an branching off these types of topics, because that's really what I know most, what I really love, those kinds of existential question, thought-provoking, how could this be possible? What else can we do with our consciousness? So the other topics are very similar. One is, as I just said, Superhuman, the sequel, but not necessarily as a documentary feature, more perhaps as a series.
Oh, wow, that would be interesting. And one more question for you, Caroline, before I let you go. When people watch us Superhuman documentary, what is the one most important lesson that you hope that they would take away from this?
That they can do this. And just try. Just have fun with this, play with it, and see if you can use it for your benefit.
Wow. You know what? I always enjoy the idea of if I think it, the universe provides it. So hopefully that's how things work.
Exactly. Especially with what's happening right now in the world. The experiment that we did with water, start thinking about this for a second. If I did this to the water, it means I can do it to my body. So why can't I just start thinking about this and just doing it and try to keep the body alkaline? And as we all know that alkaline bodies cannot attract viruses, bacteria. So it's actually very practical, very useful. We just have to do it. That's the only thing that's required.
I think that's very fascinating. Well, thank you very much for creating this documentary. I believe it's very, very educational, and everyone should actually watch it.
I so appreciate you having me. This was a lot of fun. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye now.
Bye. Telekinesis is the ability to move a physical object without any physical contact. In fact, I can teach you how to do this in 10 minutes. The trick is you're doing all of this with your mind.
When you just allow, be filled with love and energy, amazing, miraculous things can happen.
Whatever it is I'm moving, I'm looking at my own mind.
It's about understanding that your mind has the power over the object and the reality around you.